Hare Krishna, and we are back with the Perfection of Yoga by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Page number 17, starting chapter 4, Yoga as Body and Mind Control. Throughout Bhagavad Gita, Krishna was encouraging Arjuna to fight, for he was a warrior, and fighting was his duty. Although Krishna delineates the meditational yoga system in the 6th chapter, he does not stress it or encourage Arjuna to pursue it as his path. Krishna admits that this meditational process is very difficult. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena Chagriyate. Quote, the Blessed Lord said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by constant practice and by detachment. Unquote. Bhagavad Gita 6.35. Here Krishna emphasizes practice and renunciation as ways to control the mind. But what is that renunciation? Today it is hardly possible for us to renounce anything, for we are so habituated to such a variety of material sense pleasures. Despite leading a life of uncontrolled sense indulgence, we attend yoga classes and expect to attain success. There are so many rules and regulations involved in the proper execution of yoga, and most of us can hardly give up a simple habit like smoking or social networking, right? Okay. In his discourse on the meditational yoga system, Krishna proclaims that yoga cannot be properly performed by one who eats too much or eats too little. One who starves himself cannot properly perform yoga, nor can the person who eats more than required. The eating process should be moderate, just enough to keep body and soul together. It should not be for the enjoyment of the tongue. When palatable dishes come before us, we are accustomed to not take just one of the preparations, but 2, 3, 4, and upwards. Our tongue is never satisfied. But it is not unusual in India to see a yogi take only a small spoonful of rice a day and nothing more. Nor can one execute the meditational yoga system if one sleeps too much or does not sleep sufficiently. Krishna does not say that there is such a thing as dreamless sleep. As soon as we go to sleep, we will have a dream, although we may not remember it. Interesting, right? Some people say sometimes we sleep and we don't have dreams, but actually Krishna says that there is no such thing as dreamless sleep. In the Gita, Krishna cautions that one who dreams too much while sleeping cannot properly execute yoga. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. Nor can one infected by insomnia who cannot sleep at night successfully execute yoga, for the body must be kept fit. Thus, Krishna outlined so many requirements for disciplining the body. All these requirements, however, can essentially be broken down into 4 basic rules. No illicit sexual connection, no intoxication, no meat eating, and no gambling. These are the 4 minimum regulations for the execution of any yoga system. And in this age, who can refrain from these activities? We have to test ourselves accordingly to ascertain our success in yoga execution. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitah ekakiyata chitatma nirashira parigraha. Quote, a transcendentalist should always try to concentrate his mind on the Supreme Self. He should not live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Did I say he should not live alone? He should live alone in a secluded place. Sorry, unquote. Bhagavad Gita 6.10. From this verse, we can understand that it is the duty of the yogi to always remain alone. There we go. Meditational yoga cannot be performed in an assembly, at least not according to Bhagavad Gita. It is not possible to concentrate the mind in the meditational system upon the super soul except in a secluded place. In India, there are still many yogis who assemble at the Kumbh Mela. Generally, they are in seclusion, but on rare occasions they come to attend special functions. In India, there are still thousands of yogis and sages, and every 12 years or so, they meet in particular holy places, Allahabad, etc. Just as in America, they have businessmen's conventions. The yogi, in addition to living in a secluded place, should also be free from desires and should not think that he is performing yoga to achieve some material powers. Nor should he accept gifts or favors from people. If he is properly executing this meditational yoga, he stays alone in the jungles, forests, or mountains and avoids society altogether. At all times, he must be convinced for whom he has become a yogi. He does not consider himself alone because at all times the Paramatma, Supersoul, is within him. From this we can see that in modern civilization it is indeed very difficult to execute this meditational form of yoga properly. Contemporary civilization in this age of Kali has actually made it impossible for us to be alone, to be desireless, or to be possessionless. Wow, that's so true. The method of, everything, when I say this is so true, it doesn't mean that like something is not true, but basically this is something that I really see, especially nowadays, isn't it? To be alone, desireless, and possessionless. Krishna. Okay, so the method of executing meditational yoga is further explained in considerable detail by Krishna to Arjuna. Shri Krishna says, Shuchaudeshe pratishtapya sthiram asanam atmana nachuchiritam nati nicham chailajina kushottaram tatraika grammanah kritva yata chitendriya kriyah upavishya sane yunjad yogamatma vishuddhaye. Quote, to practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and should practice yoga by controlling the mind and the senses, purifying the heart and fixing the mind on one point. Unquote. Bhagavad Gita 6.11 and 12. Generally, yogis sit on tiger skin or deer skin because reptiles will not crawl on such skins to disturb their meditations. It seems that in God's creation there is a use for everything. Every grass and herb has its use and serves some function, although we may not know what it is. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has made some provision whereby the yogi doesn't have to worry about snakes. Having acquired a good sitting place in a secluded environment, the yogi begins to purify the Atma, body, mind, and soul. The yogi should not think, now I will try to achieve some wonderful powers. Sometimes yogis do attain certain siddhis or powers, but these are not the purpose of yoga, and real yogis do not exhibit them. The real yogi thinks, I am now contaminated by this material atmosphere, so now I must purify myself. Unquote. We can quickly see that controlling the mind and body is not such an easy thing, and that we cannot control them as easily as we can go to the store and purchase something. But Krishna indicates that these rules can be easily followed when we are in Krishna consciousness. Of course, everyone is motivated by sex life, but sex life is not actually discouraged. We have this material body, and as long as we have it, sex desire will be there. Similarly, as long as we have the body, we must eat to maintain it, and we must sleep in order to give it rest. We cannot expect to negate these activities, but the Vedic literatures do give us guidelines for regulation in eating, sleeping, mating, etc. If we at all expect success in the yoga system, we cannot allow our unbridled senses to take us down the paths of sense objects. Therefore, guidelines are set up. Lord Sri Krishna is advising that the mind cannot be controlled through regulation. If we do not regulate our activities, our mind will be more and more agitated. Excuse me, second time. Is advising the mind can be controlled through regulation. Pardon. It is not that activities are to be stopped, right? So I was thinking that this would go into we cannot control it by regulation, we have to control it by engagement, which is basically, it's going to come up later on, that like you can regulate your senses, but then you have to also engage them in Krishna consciousness. So yes, so regulations, the mind can be controlled, and then the mind can be absorbed in Krishna. Okay. It is not that activities are to be stopped, but regulated by mind always engaged in Krishna consciousness. There we go. Yes. Okay. Being always engaged in some activity connected with Krishna is actual samadhi. It is not that when one is in samadhi, he doesn't eat, work, sleep, or enjoy himself in any way. Rather, samadhi can be defined as executing regulated activities while absorbing in the thought of Krishna. Jai. We're going to stop here today, and we will continue tomorrow with yoga as body and mind control, with more analogies and more explanations on what is actual samadhi, what is actual yoga, what is actual control, and how to easily achieve it by Krishna consciousness. Jai. So thank you so much for tuning in today, and the link to this book is in the description. Please check it out once you have some time. I highly recommend going through this some more, and also sending it to any yogis and yoga practitioners and those who are inspired by yoga. Any friends of yours, any acquaintances. Yes, so stay tuned, and we will see you next time. Hare Krishna.